My next patron question is from Morgan, who wanted me to come up with my own television blog. With Saturday morning cartoons, a tradition nearly forgotten, it has me wondering this. If you could make your own personal Saturday morning blog, what cartoons would you feature in your lineup? This is definitely a question where I really had to go into my brain to think up what would be the lineup I would most like to have seen as a child, especially with so many possible animated shows that could be included. Although this actually would not be my first time doing this. When I was younger, I loved to take the weekly television guide and circle my favorite shows on different channels. Most Saturday morning blocks began at 8 a.m., and that would be a great place to include some outlandish cartoons that won't fit into the other categories I'll mention. Something like Eat the Cat is what I might start it with. Ned's Newt could then follow at 8:30 a.m. Other options could include Inspector Gadget, Bump in the Night, The Raccoons, Flying Rhino Junior High, or The Angry Beavers. A lot of my favorite animated shows as a child were often made by Disney, so I would include those. In the 9 a.m. slot, I would have something featuring established Disney characters like DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Timon and Pumbaa, Goof Troop, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, or any of the assorted Mickey Mouse shows. And then at 9:30 could be an original creator-driven series like Pepper Ann, Recess, Teacher's Pet, The Weekenders, Kim Possible, Phineas and Ferb, Gravity Falls, Amphibia, or The Ghost and Molly McGee. Warner Brothers Cartoon Network shows could then occupy the next two half-hour slots. At 10 a.m. I would air Animaniacs, both the original show and the recent revival. Then 10:30 could have another Spielberg-produced show like Pinky and the Brain, Tiny Toon Adventures, or Freakazoid. Or it could have one of the DC shows like Batman or Superman or Teen Titans, either the early 2000s show or Teen Titans Go. Either one is fine in my book. The Cartoon Network shows that could be included in this time slot would be Dexter's Laboratory, The Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Samurai Jack, Adventure Time, or We Bare Bears. That leaves the last two morning slots. For 11 a.m., I would absolutely include the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. It was a sad day when ABC's license ended and it was removed from their Saturday morning schedule. And then the block needs to finish off with at least something educational, so 11:30 a.m. would be devoted to the Magic School Bus, both the original series and the Netflix revival. Putting the schedule together actually makes me appreciate the difficulty that can come with putting together a block of television programming with a limited number of spots available. They have to decide which shows to keep on, when to pick up a new series, and they have the added challenge of looking at the competition playing in the same time slot on a different network. There were plenty of animated shows from different studios I could have included in this imaginary block, but I only had 8 slots to fill. Then you have the educational and informative requirements that television networks had to abide by, although it always seemed lenient the types of shows that they counted as educational. Sometimes all you needed was a school setting, like most of the one Saturday morning shows. Seriously, have you noticed how many of the shows on that block were about going to school or having school as one of the principal settings? Did the EI requirements lead to Disney asking creators to pitch shows with that specific setting? I've wondered that for a while. Finally, I want to mention that even though these are the shows I would personally include in a Saturday morning block, that does not mean I think all children should be required to watch those shows. I think when it comes to selecting entertainment children should watch, they should have the final say, with some restrictions obviously. Although even then you often hear of children who grew up watching horror movies or shows like Tales from the Crypt and turning out perfectly fine. The Saturday morning block may be a thing of the past, but children nowadays have so much selection at their fingertips. If I had children, I would not shove an Animaniacs DVD in their face and say, watch this. I would let them pick from a wide selection of shows and movies and see what strikes their fancy. I may have been at the mercy of the television scheduling or what had the most interesting covers at the video store when I was younger, but I was still able to cultivate my own tastes and interests, and I think that's very important to the development of a child. Anyway, what would your imaginary Saturday morning cartoon block look like? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for your question, Morgan.